rather than us receiving directly revelation from God, or through the angels or whatever.
Why is that not okay? Why is that not a good idea? Why is that not something which will be an absolute certainty of what the Creator wants from you, your purpose in life, whether there is an afterlife or not? That is kind of my question. You are from Canada?
No, Italian.
Italian, but then I haven't seen you, isn't it? It's someone else. So you agreed with him about the part where God gave us minds, right?
Oh yes.
So what part do you agree with what he was saying, basically?
I don't know. I haven't listened for everything he said. I think he's kind of a theist who doesn't necessarily believe in any.
He's a deist.
He's a deist. Oh,
Yeah,
like
because he says like that religions are a culture, God exists, but religion is culture, is not coming from a creator.
Yeah,
this is your position.
I hold the same position. Yeah,
sure. Have you read the Quran?
At the moment, yeah. I'm open to change my mind.
Have you read the Quran?
I started recently.
Sure. The first thing we want to obviously talk about, if you're a deist, you believe in some sort of a deity, right?
Oh yes.
What is the characteristics that you give to that deity?
Okay.
Would you agree with me that it's intelligent?
Oh yes.
Powerful?
Oh yes.
Always existent, eternal?
Yes.
Independent?
Oh yes.
One?
Yes.
That is Allah. that is our basic belief and understanding of Allah, you know? So if you believe in that, the next step is this. An intelligent being, right? We are, as humans, we have a level of intelligence, right? Not that much of a level of intelligence, but we have a level of intelligence, right? When we make something, we ascribe purpose to it. I was telling this gentleman, when these people made this bottle, the purpose of the bottle is to preserve water inside, correct? So, what is the reason the Creator created you and me? What is the purpose? If it's an intelligent being, it ascribes purpose to whatever it makes. First, what is the purpose? Number two, how do we learn about the Creator? We can learn, obviously, from looking at the physical reality, learning that He's powerful, intelligent, what we were disagreeing with already. But that's as far as we can go. We cannot really surpass that understanding, correct? So, what would you say the purpose is? How do we know our purpose? We have to ask our Creator. How do we do that?
How do we know the purpose of God?
Yeah, the purpose of us, of our creation. What did the Creator create us?
Yeah, that's an interesting question.
Yeah.
How do we know that? I think we can infer it from our own experience, like as you said, for example, observing the natural world.
We can.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we can. You
can infer God from that, but yeah. I'm saying our purpose. So
our
you know.
Purpose, okay. I mean, I think that the purpose of God was simply to.
Before I let you finish, before you say I think, right? I'm asking not the method of knowing. I'm not asking you whether you know or not. You understand?
Yeah.
So when you say our experience, is your experience like my experience?
No.
No. So different experiences will lead to different conclusions,
Yes.
right? We want to know what our purpose is objectively as ascribed by the Creator.
Yeah.
The only way we can know that for sure is through the Creator.
Yeah.
That is the only way.
So do you agree with me that our experiences are some sort similar in many aspects?
I would say there is similarities, but I would say that there is a lot of differences more than similarities.
But I'm not sure, because we know, for example, our consciousness, so for example, we don't know from, if you think about philosophy, we don't know whether my brain corresponds to your brain, the experience.
Brain, you said?
No, my brain, like, when you observe colors.
Yeah, green, yeah.
So we know, we all have the experience of, we look at different colors, we look at different parts of nature. And for example, color is one of the sensations a human being has in perception. So I'm not sure whether my green correspond to your green, because I can say this is green and call it green, and you can see something different, call it green, and we may agree with the same thing.
But you're actually agreeing with me now.
yeah, but the point I'm making here,
yes.
to make it simple, is to say that I think that we experience so many things. We got many things in common. Our conscience, I think, is leading us to very similar conclusions. I think, for example, I experience pain, and I'm quite confident that the pain I experience is very similar to yours with respect to, I don't know, hitting your knee on a tree or whatever. So I think that, for example, when you see a child, and you see someone who is hitting a child for no reason, so a child is not innocent, you start feeling, everyone will feel bad looking at that. It will feel disgust. So this is our own conscience, and there's nothing. I mean, of course, it depends also on the culture, because, for example, it depends on the culture. But at the end of the day, if you think about it, if you go back in time, the cultural costumes, if you go back, they comes from our genetic inheritance anyway. Because, for example, so some cultural
before we jump into a different topic
let me finish.
about genetics.
No, let me finish.
Go ahead,
this, because
sure.
it's really important. For example, most of the cultures are monogamous. Yeah. So, you don't have, a man who married many women. So, I mean, if you look at animals,
I would disagree.
I mean, there are some animals that are.
No. I would disagree. Not only in animals, but in cultures as well.
Okay, but for example, what we can say in most of the culture, for example, homosexuality is...
You know Abrahamic faith, right? You know Abrahamic religions, right?
Yes.
You know how many wives did Abraham have?
Oh, yeah, no. So Abraham had
now we're going
wife.
back in history, right?
Yeah, Abraham, I mean, according to the biblical account.
Yeah, obviously, according to the biblical account.
So Abraham had a wife, and then he had another son with another woman, which I think
that biblical account,
Sarah.
That biblical account is few thousand years, right? 1 or 2, 3,000 years, yeah.
Kind of.
So it is ancient. So I'm not just talking about a biblical account, just it's not ancient, right? Whether it's completely reliable, that's a different discussion, right? This is my point. Abraham had more than wife. Moses had more than wife. According to the biblical accounts now, right? Solomon had 1,000,
Okay, but
300, 700. I'm just trying to give.
The point I was trying to make is that there are certain things or laws, or for example, or moral laws that we take for granted, or maybe it's in society very well accepted, that we say comes from cultural, like common sense. But if you go back, at the end of the day, this common sense, where does it come from? It comes from our own being, our own genetic.
I'm not disagreeing with you that we have common sense, but my question,
But it comes from the genetic,
coming back
the
to
way the brain
my question, right? This was my question, right?
Yeah.
How do we know something? Everything you said right now is relating to the human being.
Yes.
My question is something that is abstract of the human being.
Yeah.
Purpose is attributed to us by something abstract from us. It's not something from me and you. It's the creator. The creator is not you or me, right?
Okay.
The creator created you and me.
Yeah.
So I'm asking about the purpose that is being ascribed by that abstract concept, right? So whether you have experience, you have common sense, that's okay, that's all fine, right?
I'm trying to get your point. Maybe your point is trying to say that the creator, in order to know his purpose, he needs to have revealed, basically.
In order to know our purpose.
So our purpose...
Yeah, from him
to
creating us,
yes,
yeah, basically.
He should have revealed this to us.
No, you have to ask him, he has to tell you.
He has to tell you,
Yeah, he has to tell you. You have to communicate in a sense.
Okay,
Otherwise, you will not know for sure.
but wait a second, but what if I do something, for example, I prepare, like for example, I prepare a breakfast for you, yeah? With nice biscuits, everything that you like, everything, prepare that. And you ask yourself, so what's the purpose of that? And you may come to the conclusion, oh, maybe John or let's say about your mother or whatever, she wanted me to be happy, or she wanted me to enjoy that, yeah? You don't need your mother to tell you. You can just observe.
Are you comparing
you can just observe.
I understand what you're saying.
In the same way I'm saying, you can observe your universe, so your existence.
Sure.
So you can observe everything around you and come to the same conclusion without having this being telling you straight away.
Are you comparing a mother cooking breakfast in the morning to an objective? I'm trying to say something as well, yeah. To the objective purpose of existence of 7 billion people. What I'm trying to say is this, right?
Yeah.
Usually when we make a cake or we make food for someone, the purpose is is for someone to eat it. That is usually the purpose of making. We already know that.
If we make nicely, is to eat it and to enjoy it.
Yeah. We already know that before the cake being made. That's why we jump to that conclusion.
Yeah.
But I'm asking about something that we don't have prior knowledge of, which is us given purpose. We don't have prior knowledge of that. Normally, God gives purpose to things because of ABC. So is a false analogy if you look at it in that way. You understand what I'm trying to say? So I don't disagree with you that you can come to conclusions by your experience, right? But that doesn't mean that you will know for sure what is your purpose, whether it's objective or not objective, right? You will come to conclusions, I will come to conclusions, my friend will come to conclusions, right? All of these will be different purposes. If someone wakes up one day and he says, you know what, my purpose is to kill, rape, steal, etc., 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 and he says, this is my purpose, this is what God ascribed to me, what are you going to say to that person?
I would say that, so if someone thinks the purpose of God is that, I think we've been, as the man was saying, we've been given a conscience which is able, indirectly, to get to that truth. In the same
he
way,
was not saying that, obviously.
Let me finish. In the same way, for example, do you think that when Einstein discovered the theory of relativity, E equals C.
Was he sure when he came to his conclusions?
Oh, wait a second. Let me finish the point.
Yeah.
Do you think that when he discovered that, which is a law which describes very well the universe? I mean, it is not complete, but it describes most of the universe and the way the curves behave. And for example, he make the Newtonian theory better, yeah, because Newton discovered, the gravitational laws, how it works, and then Einstein.
Was the Newtonian model working as well, perfectly?
No, but it was working.
Was it working perfectly?
But he had the power of truth, because if you use the Newtonian model to describe the solar system or whatever, you can explain most of the movement of the quarks. You don't need the Einstein theory in order to explain. But of course.
What's your name, by the way?
Call me JLA.
JLA.
That's my art name. My name is John. Yeah?
John. Okay, let me call you John. No problem.
Yeah.
Look, John. I think my question is very simple, right?
No, but let me finish the point, because so when they discover, what do you think? Do you think that God told them straight away? So it was a part of the truth, yeah.
If you want me to answer that question,
yes.
What you're talking about is science. Science is coming to conclusion through the natural world,
yes.
right? Looking, observing the natural world using empirical methods.
Yes.
I'm talking about something completely different. So when they came to that conclusions through empiricism, in the Newtonian model, they thought this is absolute truth, 100%. Then they discover it wasn't, right? So my point is this: you can know something, you think you know it, but it's not true. Then in the future, and that is what science is, right?
Oh, but wait a second. The Quran. So you're basically trying to make this.
Before we go to the Quran, obviously.
No. But if you're clever enough, you got my point.
I haven't got your point.
You should have, because it's very simple.
I'm not clever then.
Okay,
just tell me your point.
Okay, no, but I think you're clever, so you should have got the point.
It doesn't matter.
The point is that.
Yeah.
So you're saying that if someone doesn't tell you the purpose why he created it, you cannot know it. That's your claim, yeah?
My claim is,
yes,
when someone makes something, he ascribes purpose to it.
Yes.
That means if we are created by a deity, we have a purpose.
Yes, okay.
I'm saying, logically, that purpose must come from the creator of that thing.
Yeah.
Right? This is what I'm saying. And I'm saying you can come to conclusions, but it will not be an absolute conclusion.
Oh, yes.
It will be maybe
Agreed.
So this is what I'm trying to say, right?
Yes, yeah.
Unless he actually communicates with you.
Yeah.
If he communicates with you, then you're sure 100%
it's sure
absolute.
100%. Okay.
So this is what I'm trying to say.
Okay,
You understand?
That's true.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
We agree with that. Okay.
Yeah, no problem.
So let's move on.
Yeah, sure.
So you're saying that the Quran is the definite truth.
That's my belief, obviously. That's my the way I
it comes
accept.
directly from God, yeah? And it's
Obviously,
true, perfect, yeah?
What do you mean by comes directly by God first?
I mean, the Quran is thought to be the word of God, like it's sent directly.
Do you know how the Quran came down? What is the history of the...
I'm not very knowledgeable on that topic, but I think that Muhammad wasn't even illiterate.
No, he was illiterate.
He wasn't?
Yeah.
Wasn't? Okay, so...
He was illiterate.
He was?
He was.
So basically, he received this revelation
what happened, Prophet Muhammad lived with his people for 40 years. Okay? He was known to be the trustworthy, the honest. This was his titles, right? That was what he was known to be in his people. When they had disputes, he used to go to him to solve these kind of disputes, right? Prophet Muhammad used to go and meditate because he did not believe that you should worship an idol that you make with your own hand, right? Let alone some people actually used to eat their own idols, right? So he thought that this is something you just made with your own hands. This is not worthy of worship or praise or otherwise, right? This is not the creator of everything, right? So he used to go to a cave which was called Ghar Hira, cave of Hira, yeah? He used to go there and he used to meditate, right? One day in his meditations, we believe that one of the angels of the Lord, right? Angel Gabriel came to Prophet Muhammad and he recited the Quran to him and he told him to recite, right? Recite the Quran, right? Prophet Muhammad received the Quran orally, right? From the angel, right? Prophet Muhammad delivered the Quran therefore orally. The people who wrote the Quran was the companions of Prophet Muhammad. So when you say it's from God, I just wanted to clarify what you meant by that, obviously.
Okay.
So it's from God, it's coming exactly that way, right? So yes, I believe the Quran is coming from God that way exactly, specifically.
Okay, in that
yes.
way. Oh, okay, that's fine.
Sure.
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter the way.
Yeah, I'm just
Okay,
explaining,
but
clarifying
maybe
it.
matter,
Yeah.
but okay,
Maybe
so-
new information for you about it.
No,
No problem.
thank you. No, I'm really
It's
happy
okay.
to learn
It's
something
okay.
from you.
No problem.
So I hope you can learn something from you.
Yeah, 100%.
So basically,
That's why I'm here.
So basically, you're saying that unless it reveals in some way himself, his purpose for us.
Our purpose, yeah.
Yeah, our purpose, yeah.
Yeah.
How basically, what's the reason why he created us?
Yeah.
Yeah, so what's our purpose? We cannot know it for sure. Okay, I agree. I agree
Sure,
with that.
sure.
Yeah, I agree with
Have you read the Quran?
that. I started. I just started.
Sure.
Like
So
2 weeks ago.
in chapter 2, the second verse in chapter 2, it says, "This is the book which there is no doubt a guidance for mankind."
Yeah.
Right? A part of that guidance is telling you your purpose or why you exist, why you're here, what you're doing, right? So how much have you read from the Quran?
I started from the beginning. So,
Yeah. Chapter 1?
Yeah, we chapter 1, and then I went to because I was looking for some. I was watching some debate.
Yeah.
And then I think Muhammad Hijab said to look at I think chapter 50. Maybe it's 50 or something. Yeah, chapter
Qaf,
50.
yeah.
From 50 to 57, something like that. So I read a little bit of that one, but I just started. So I'm just curious.
That's okay.
I grew up as a Christian, so
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know much about Islam. I'm just starting knowing something.
What conclusion have you come to so far when you have read the part that you have read?
So I published a book in Italy. It's called Distraction of Atheism, and it's very like tangible book. So I've been living here for 3 years, so my English is not still very.
Yes, okay, that's fine.
But anyway, so I published this book in Italy. I'm a psychologist.
Oh, that's very good.
And my conclusion is that we discovered the moral law in the same way we discovered the laws of physics. So that's why I'm trying to make that parallel.
Yeah, but morality is a different concept than the purpose. We can discuss morality.
Yeah, so and in the same way, I think we can kind of come to the conclusion of our purpose, which is something that has to do, is related to the moral realm in a certain way. I mean, I'm not saying it's the same thing, but it's related to it.
I'm agreeing. It's
so
related, 100%.
I think that rather than us receiving directly revelation from God, or through the angels or whatever.
Why is that not okay? Why is that not a good idea? Why is that not something which will be an absolute certainty of what the Creator wants from you, your purpose in life, whether there is an afterlife or not? That is kind of my question.
Yeah. Why? So I think that the point you made is true. If there is not a direct revelation or indirect from
you will
God,
not know for sure.
You cannot if it's true for sure. And I agree with you. And in fact, that's my vision. So my vision is that if you draw a Cartesian plan, so you've got basically an x, y, and an x, and you design a curve. So in this axis you've got knowledge, and in this axis you've got time. So basically, the curve increase. Number one is the truth, and it never touch it. Do you know an asymptote? Asymptote in mathematics.
No.
So basically, it's the curve grow.
I get your point, anyways.
But never touch it.
I get your point.
So as the knowledge grows,
So you don't agree that the curve goes this way as well? This is my view of this reality.
It could be, but I
So
think
it doesn't only go this way; it actually goes this way as well.
Well done. I also specify that in the book. I think that he may even do this, but eventually, in time, it tends to increase without never touching the truth. So I think that we never can get to the absolute truth because that's
Unless
ways unless God revealed. Yeah.
This was my point.
Definitely.
Yes.
But I don't think it did. And you know why? Do you know why it didn't? According
Yeah,
to my
we
view.
can analyze, we can know, obviously.
Okay. Do you know why it didn't?
No, tell me.
Because he needs to. I think God wants us to be free, and in order to be free, we cannot have an absolute truth. Only He have the absolute truth. Because by
But I'm
having
not
the
talking about absolute truth at all.
You couldn't be free because you should recognize it for sure. You should like take it, and you couldn't have any way to escape it.
Sure.
So if
I
it
kind
were
of
the
agree with
absolute
you, but
truth-
disagree in the same time. I'll explain what I mean, right? So
yeah, okay, explain.
one of the names of Allah is Al-Haq. Al-Haq means the truth, the absolute truth,
Yeah.
right? So we believe Allah is the absolute truth, right?
Yeah.
But
in Himself.
Allah given you purpose in life, right? Doesn't mean you have the absolute truth. You just have certainty about why you're here, because otherwise you'll be a confused being. Otherwise, the Creator, where is the intelligence of the Creator of creating something that He doesn't ascribe purpose to, right? So this is what I'm trying to say as a Muslim, right? We reach certainty regarding our purpose in life. We don't reach certainty about the attributes of God, the shape of God, what God is. All of these things we believe in the afterlife we will see God. This is what we believe, right? But in this life, we believe the purpose. This is actually coming to the purpose now. We believe the purpose is that we're being tested. So he agrees with what you say. We are being tested whether we will take the pathway of the Creator, or we will take our desires and whims and ignoring completely why the Creator created us, ignoring morality, ignoring all of these things, right? So what you talk about is actually the Islamic perspective. The Quran says, هو الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن
I have no
عملا.
problem with that.
He is the one who created life and death to test you who is better in deeds, right? So it kind of agrees with you with your understanding and morality and what you're saying,
And I
right?
came to this without reading the Quran.
That's
So
good,
how does it
100%.
work?
So when you come,
So how can I have this realization without reading the
You
Quran?
came to that, but you didn't know your complete purpose. That's not only your purpose in the Quran.
No, but
So there is
no.
more.
Okay,
So you haven't come to more.
For example, according to Christianity, so God created us on His own image, in the sense that He's pure consciousness and we have consciousness. So basically, we are kind of similar to God in that respect. So we've got an attribute of God, which is to be aware of your own existence. So
We have many attributes of God on a low level.
yeah, but
Low level, not his
Yeah,
level,
yeah.
like knowledge, understanding, seeing, hearing, all of these things, yeah.
So according to the Christian worldview, okay, God created us also to have a relationship with Him, in terms of being in contact with
Why
Him.
is that a relationship?
Okay, so I know
That is
that
the
for
question.
the Muslim is to be a servant of God.
Yeah.
And
To be what, sorry?
To be a servant. Sorry, a servant.
Not
Like
only in
to
that
serve-
sense.
to serve God.
Not only in that sense. So the word actually, which is something that many people need to look at really linguistically. Yeah. The word abd, right? It has two meanings. It can mean servant of God, and it can mean a worshipper of God.
Okay, so yeah, worshiping. Yeah, so
It
worship.
can mean a worshipper of God
Yeah,
as
so
well, because it
according
can
to
come from
Christian,
the
it's
word
same.
abid.
Yeah, according to
So-
Christian, God created us also to worship Him. Yeah.
Sure. So not only that, this is still we're not reaching. I'll tell you something. You will know what I'm asking you about if you remember the first verse of the Quran. The first word of the first verse of the first chapter.
To worship Allah and
No,
Muhammad is-
first verse. First word.
I don't remember.
This first word is this. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. All praise and gratitude is due to Allah, the creator of the world, right? So Allah, the Lord of the worlds. This is what I want to kind of, it's an example that I want to give, right? You have two hands, you have two legs, you have two eyes, two ears, right? If you go to a forest, there's trees. On these trees, you have fruits, vegetables, rain coming from the sky, and these things growing by themselves, right? You're eating it. You go to the sea, there's all types of fish that you can imagine right? And every different fish has a different taste, right? Even though they're all fish, right? You look under this earth, you find gold, silver, aluminum, you name it, right? If you go to a coffee shop and they give you a free cup of coffee, what are you going to say?
If I go to coffee,
You like
shop,
coffee?
Yes. Yeah.
They give you a free cup of coffee.
Oh, what is it? Thanks.
Yeah. Do they need that thanks, or they deserve that thanks? Will it benefit them anything in you saying thank you?
No.
So that means that they deserve that thanks.
Yeah.
What about the Creator who gave you everything that I mentioned?
Yeah, I agree. Definitely, yeah.
So, Alhamdu, which is all praise to be, this is the ultimate purpose.
Yeah.
God is worthy of praise and worship.
Yes.
A part of His praise is His worship, right? This is what we believe as Muslims. That's why this is the first verse that you find in the Quran. The first chapter, this is the first chapter, we recite 17 times a day, right? So, how can you thank Him? That is the story that I'm talking about. Which way does He like me to thank Him? Which way does He like me to worship? Should I worship like Satanists do, cutting myself? How should I worship God? How should I be grateful?
Do you know, I think we should worship God.
You think you shouldn't worship God?
Do you know what?
Depends what you mean by worship.
How I think by worshiping Him, like, you know, like being gratitude to Him. Or
You think you shouldn't be grateful to the Creator? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, of course, I agree with you that He doesn't need that. It's just that.
But He deserves that. This is what I'm saying.
Yeah. So I think that if we want to kind of praise God, I think the best way we can do it is to do His will.
Is to do His will.
His will, yeah.
But His will is the purpose that I'm talking about. So His will is the purpose that He ascribed to you. So you're coming back to my point. My point is, what is His will?
Yeah, I think that...
This is my point.
Yeah, but I think the best way to know His will is to follow our own conscience.
Sorry?
I think the best way to know His will is to follow our own conscience.
That is your subjective opinion, correct?
Yes, it's
my subjective opinion might be different. Someone else's subjective opinion.
Yes.
That's why I'm saying, if we can really know for sure that, look, this is revelation coming from the Creator. This is an absolute... This is the will of God. This is what God wills. This is what God wants you to do. This is why God created the universe.
Yeah, but if we need, so if you're saying that if we add this knowledge for sure, like complete, like, you know, about, you know, how we should worship or whatever, I've got a problem with that because the Islam itself has different, so you refer to different things, not just to the Quran, for example, to the Hadith.
Islam is a very big thing, by the way.
Yeah. No, so I mean, you refer to the Hadith, which is something made afterwards, you know?
Not really. There is a misunderstanding of what the Hadith is.
But okay, but it's made, like, is it kind of complete?
Tell me why is the Hadith?
I think it's kind of, I think something about Muhammad, like there are some true about the Prophet Muhammad.
The Hadith
and also,
is what the Prophet said,
yeah,
did, or agreed upon.
Yeah.
When the Prophet was saying, doing, or agreeing upon something, was that in his lifetime?
I don't know.
So how can he agree to something not in his lifetime? How can he say something not in his lifetime? Obviously, it was in his lifetime, right? What he was saying, how would it be otherwise? I'm saying when Prophet Muhammad existed,
I don't know the historical account.
No, I'm saying when he existed,
okay,
he was saying things, doing things, and agreeing to things, correct? These things happened what time? At his lifetime. The things that he was agreeing with. The hadith is just record of what was happening in his lifetime, right? So when you say the hadith came afterwards, that is a fallacy.
Okay. Yeah.
Because the hadith is just recording what he was doing in his lifetime, right?
Okay.
So I think what you're referring to is the compilation of hadith. Compilation. Okay. So something already existed and I compiled it.
Oh, okay,
It doesn't mean me compiling something. The Bukhari, for example, which is the most authentic book of hadith that we have, is a compilation. There was a lot of hadith and he compiled the authentic ones. And he had a method of doing that, but the hadith was already there. The hadith is just a person saying to a person saying to a person with a link chain of narration by reliable people who met each other and delivered something of Prophet Muhammad, right? So the hadith is from the time of Prophet Muhammad. But why is even more interesting that the Quran tells you to follow the hadith. So when you follow the hadith, you follow in the Quran as well, right? So it is by extension accepting what the Quran says, because the Quran says the Prophet is the best example. How can I follow a best example that I don't have already anything about him, right? So the Quran, the best example is Prophet Muhammad. What Prophet Muhammad commands us and clarifies to us and explains to us is the hadith, right? Because I want you to imagine the Quran had every little specific detail of everything. How big of a book would it be? How huge of a book would it be?
So if the Quran was, the book?
If the Quran contained every little specific detail of everything, no one would read it, right? So Prophet Muhammad is explaining the Quran that is kind of in a compressed form, right? It's an eloquent compressed form of the commands of what Allah has given you. And the hadith is explaining the eloquent form, right? So what is the problem of following the hadith though? Why did you mention that we don't only follow the Quran, we follow the hadith? No, I was telling you why now, because the Quran cannot contain everything. So we require an external source that will also explain. Otherwise, people will abandon the Quran.
But based on, so all the agreement, because for example, you got a corp of people who kind of agree or disagree in what the hadith should contain or what it shouldn't, or I guess I'm not sure.
Oh yeah, sure. I'll let you finish.
Yeah.
You want me to
So
let you finish.
how do they come to these conclusions that this should be in the hadith, this shouldn't, or how to interpret that verse, how to interpret the other verse? What is the underlying thing that allow you to kind of understand better or contextualize what has been written in the Quran? What is that? What is the tool that we use?
The Quran or the Hadith?
No, whatever. The Quran or the Hadith. What is the tool that we use in order to?
There's two different discussions. Which one you want to know?
Okay, let's see the Quran. Okay, let's say Quran.
Let's begin with the Quran.
What's the tool that you use? But then you're gonna
to
tell
verify.
me the Hadith. But,
No. To verify or to explain?
No, to kind of understand the word and to kind of.
I just already told you the Hadith. Isn't
Okay,
it?
so to both. Yeah.
It's
so,
not only the Hadith. There is few other sources as well.
But for example, when someone is like kind of tackling you, or someone is tackling Islam, saying, "Oh, this is written in a hadith, I don't understand it," or "This is written in the Quran, could you please explain to me?"
Yeah.
And usually what they do, the scholars or people who kind of very knowledgeable on that topic, they kind of try to explain how you need to read these passages, how they are contextualized.
Not really.
And
Contextualize maybe.
exactly,
Read not.
and also in the meaning of the words, like
Sure.
the
Let me
Arabic words.
clarify. Right. The Quran has a method already of how you understand the Quran. The Quran says in chapter 3, verse 7, that there is two types of verses. There is foundational verses, Kitab, the mother of the book. These foundational verses are the ones that you refer the other verses back to understand or explain. So the Quran contains two types, right? There is verses that contains multiple meanings, and there are clear-cut foundational verses, like say Allah is one and only.
Okay.
Many verses like this. Follow the Prophet, follow Allah, obey the Prophet, obey Allah. I can give you many examples, obviously, right? Now, what the scholars do, the Quran has another method of going back, referring to the scholars. If you don't understand something, refer to someone of knowledge. When we say of knowledge, we say Ahl al-Dhikr. Ahl al-Dhikr, this is the word that the Quran uses itself, right? So Ahl al-Dhikr means the people of scripture, the people of remembrance, the people of the Quran and Sunnah. What does these people have that the layman doesn't have? Is that they contextualize every hadith regarding this matter, every verse regarding this matter, and they compile everyone and they derive the understanding to you. But when they derive, they give you evidence for their conclusion. They don't just say what they think.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Do you agree with me that the underlying method at the end of the day is the conscious of the human being?
But before all of that, the person who explains the Quran is the Prophet. As the Quran says already in Surah Nahl, I think it's chapter 17. I don't know the numbers, I know the names most likely, yeah? Verse 44, yeah? In Surah Nahl, verse 44, Allah says that the Prophet is explaining the Quran. Allah have sent down to Prophet Muhammad the hadith, which is the revelation, to explain the Quran, right? So Prophet Muhammad is the one that explains everything in the Quran. That's why he is the best of examples. Aisha, the wife of Prophet Muhammad, she said that he was, Prophet Muhammad himself, right? He was a walking Quran. What does that mean? He was an application, life application of the Quran. So if you really want to understand the Quran, look at the Prophet. Why was I telling you the Prophet is the best of examples, right? So before talking about human beings, these human beings that you talk about they only refer back to the Prophet. The example is already there. The explanation is already there. But as a layman, you don't have time to read the books. So they just tell you what the Prophet said already. So they don't do anything from their understanding, right? So this is our view as Muslims. Now, coming back to the Quran, you haven't told me why you say, you were going to tell me why you don't agree that the Quran is the message or the Quran is the absolute purpose, but you haven't told me.
Okay, why I don't agree that the Quran is the...
Even, obviously you haven't read all of it, but so far what you read.
Okay,
yeah.
So I read something, but I'm telling you why I don't think that's the case.
Sure.
Because I look at the word and observe the presence of so many different religions and so many different, and most of them has so much truth on them. Like there's in the scriptures, so many meaningful things. And for example, it's not just in the main monotheistic religion like Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. But if you observe also other religion from the Oriental world, which like, for example, Taoism or Buddhism, which maybe even if it's
not a religion, it's a philosophy.
Yes, you can.
Because you follow Buddha, you follow the life of Buddha.
I know, they haven't got a god, but still is seen as a religion.
Yeah, it depends how you define a religion, obviously.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Sure.
Yeah. So it depends on. But if you observe the world, you look around you. You know, you can just look at this place.
I understand
you.
I understand what you're saying.
So
does the Quran have an answer to that?
I think that, of course, but the Bible has an answer to that.
Why is the Bible? Why is the answer that the Bible has?
I mean, there are some passages that talk about that there will be some false prophets. There are false prophets.
That's not the explanation I'm talking about.
What
is the explanation? You're talking about different various religion and otherwise, right?
Yeah.
And values in these religions. But the Quran already explains why this is the case.
Okay,
so that's what makes it an absolute source of knowledge and information, right?
So
the Quran says we have sent to every nation a messenger. Every nation prior to Prophet Muhammad received a messenger. That messenger was only for his locality and people. So he came with morals, with commandments, with words of God. That's why when you trace back, there was always people who believed in a creator. There was always people who believed in God, Asian civilizations. And there was a lot of these Asian civilizations were monotheists. And if they weren't, they attribute some attributes of God to creation, but they still believe in one ultimate deity, one ultimate God, right? So that proves what? That proves the Islamic claim. That God have sent to every nation a messenger. When that prophet died, he was only for his people.
So that's
his scripture.
to Islam, that should be the conclusive.
No, I'm telling you why. I'm answering your question. Why?
So
it's okay.
according to the Islam worldview, that should be the conclusive revelation of
Sorry,
Muhammad.
the Quran.
Yes, the Quran.
It's not about conclusive. It's about the last and final revelation.
Okay.
But the difference is, this is what Prophet Muhammad said, that every prophet was sent to his locality, but he's sent to everyone. So he brought a universal message. There's the only difference between him and the previous prophets, right? But you finding different religions is because these prophets were there. But when they died, they had scripture, the people corrupted it. It became something else. But you can find a common thread. One God, you can find a common thread. Don't kill, don't rape, don't steal. You can always find a common thread because God has sent prophets to nations, right? Prophet Muhammad, the only thing that he's doing is he's bringing a universal message, right? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala obviously knew that after Prophet Muhammad, we will reach the age of technology. When you reach the age of technology, you can easily pass down information.